Okay. I am a professor of film studies, I think first and foremost, but that includes a lot of things. So teaching, which is in a way programming. I also do a little programming outside of teaching, and then research and writing. And I do a lot of writing. I really like it, academic and other stuff as well. I would also say I'm definitely an avid viewer and reader. I think that's really important too. Really important. I mean, I actually was kind of raised up academically a little bit in this old style where you just are thinking on your own and interacting with the text and interpreting, and I think that's really essential and important. But when I was in graduate school, I got involved in a couple of research projects, and it really changed the way that I thought about everything. I was doing a program or a project on early African American cinema. This was like 20 years ago or so. And I realized, it gave me a sort of consciousness of what people remembered and what they didn't remember, and what they prioritized and what they sort of let disappear. And the way to find that in film history is really to look back for yourself and discover in different ways what existed. And so many things get lost. So for me, research is really essential. I think it augments what you're thinking about a text. It's like having a conversation. I think conversation is an essential a part of looking at any film or any text. And it's also fun because you get to see what other people have to say and how they thought about something. And I mean, I just do it for fun sometimes when I'm watching a film and I'm like, I'm not really sure why the character did that or something, and what did somebody else think about it. And so it's useful for me, I think, academically, but also just sort of on a level of pure interest in what other people are thinking. I'm going to say archives and archivists, because, I mean, an archive is a place that's really dedicated to collecting materials and organizing them and allowing people access to them. And that is just absolutely priceless. And archivists are the people who know all about that material. And so, I mean, many times, it's been equally important for me when I'm doing archival research to talk to somebody. And they've, saved me time, of course, but also just have such interesting takes on the material and interesting ideas about it. And so many people have devoted so much time to helping me, actually, helping translate stuff. I mean, it's really incredible, and it gives you, sometimes it can be really lonely, I think, when you're researching, because you're just by yourself and you're looking at all this material and knowledge, but you can spend a lot of time alone in a room, and so it's nice to have that interaction as well. So I think that's probably my favorite. But libraries of any kind, databases of any kind, I think they're just really essential and fun to look into. I do. I think it's hard to avoid. My library doesn't have very many books, so I use a lot of interlibrary loan when I'm there. And, I get any articles or chapters, they're sent to me digitally. I'm not keen on reading stuff that way. I love the material form, but on the other hand, sometimes you can search stuff digitally. That is really great, a great tool, I think. So occasionally I will actually go to a digital copy of something that I have as a book just to try to find something that I remember but cannot find. So that can be great. Yeah. And so it's mainly academic stuff that I read digitally. Oh, absolutely. All the time. Yeah, no, I love reading books, and I like the actual, physical book, and the way that you can move around in it. To me, it's much more flexible than something that's digital for that reason as well. I check out books from my library, interlibraries, so libraries from wherever they can get a book, and the local Louisville library system as well. Occasionally I read one of those digitally, but I just actually like going to libraries and browsing and looking and then choosing stuff. And that was a habit I formed when I was a child. My mother used to bring us to the library and just say, she'd bring us, I think, to the children's room and say, whatever you want, check it out. So we would just get huge stacks of books, and it was, it was fun. It was like Christmas or candy. We did it every week. So I think you find so many interesting things that way, and that is something that I miss. Trying to find stuff online. You can't, there's so much stuff there, but you don't see it. You don't really know how to get to it. It's not like you can just see it. It's right in front of you. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I mean, yeah, I would, if I lived here, of course, it would be way more essential, but I've worked here before, and I've come to programs here before, and every time that I've been in Vienna, and for me, it's again, it's like important that it's there. It's so accessible. It's so interesting to me how people curate things and how people program things. So even sometimes when I'm not actually going to programs or able to access something, I like to look online and see what people are doing. And, I've used the programmers for information many times on a more casual level. And that has been super helpful for my teaching and my writing, like just the level of resources is really great. I guess two pieces of advice about research, I would say. One is take good notes. That's something I often forget to do, and then I can't find the stuff that I remembered, and it takes so much time. But the other thing is to be a good detective. I think that you can be super lazy now with research, and people oftentimes use the internet, and I do as well, sometimes especially just to kind of start off from, but there's so much, I don't know if I would say misinformation, but poorly structured information or inaccurate information. I've never once, I think, gone to Wikipedia and found a plot that I agreed with. After watching a film, I'm like, well, that wasn't really what happened in the film. So I think it's important to think like a detective when you research and really look for answers and not rely on what other people have said or repeated from other people, and to think about what your take on something is, because I rarely completely agree with what anybody says. I think that's also part of the interesting part of research, is that when you're writing, you have your interpretation, you explain it, people see it and react to it, and that keeps the conversation going. Thank you.